want to share a heart-wrenching story that happened last week that really shook me to the core of my being and highlighted what so many of the hostage families are still going through. As you know, there's still 100 hostages in Gaza, and their fate is being decided as we speak. We hope that all those who need to come back for burial will come back, like our son Daniel, for a dignified burial, and those who are still alive, please God, to return immediately to their families. But we're having a meeting with all the families of the soldiers. We're meeting with one of the generals who are giving us an update, and we were going around introducing ourselves because he's new in his task. And one of the mothers said something which shook me. She said to the general as follows. She said, you know, my son has been declared dead. My husband has seen the video evidence. To me, he's still alive. I still believe he's going to walk through the door until the body comes back and he has a grave, because they have no grave. Until that happens, in my heart of hearts, my son is alive. I am tormented and my life is so challenging and so difficult. I was so pained to hear this, to see what she was going through, and to see what so many families are going through. Those who've got sons and children alive and know that their children are going through the most horrific things, unimaginable pain. I always say that the 163 days that our son Daniel, that we believe was alive during that time, was watching my wife suffering, for me was the worst human suffering that I had seen close up. And to see these families still going through this. And even those who their children have been declared deceased, some of them still are going through such pain until the body comes back, not fully believing that they are indeed deceased. It reminded me immediately that this is exactly what is described in this week's parasha, in Parasha Vayeishev, when the brothers cruelly do what they do to Joseph and present the torn coat to the father, to Yaakov. And Yaakov sees this, and it says that he tears his garments when he sees this. He assumes that he's being killed. And it says, Vaytabel alav yamim rabim, and he mourned for him for years. And the next verse, not only for days, according to Rashi, for 22 years, he was inconsolable. They all tried to console him. It says, none of his sons and daughters could console him. He continually cried. He was inconsolable. Says Rashi, quoting the Midrash, why was he inconsolable? We know that it says in Jewish law that one's not supposed to overly mourn. It's a sign of a lack of faith in God. Surely a person there has to be an end to the mourning. One has to accept the terrible fate and learn to live with it. Why was he inconsolable? Incredibly, Rashi says, because in his heart of hearts, he didn't know if Yosef was dead. Show me the body. Where is the body? You've got a torn coat? Even though he thought Yosef was dead consciously, he didn't know. And the gzera, the decree of human nature that allows us to get over our mourning, is when we know that a person has passed away. But when there's that niggling doubt, or when one hasn't seen the body and one able to have a burial, inconsolable, because one never knows. This is what so many families are going through. This is what Yaakov went through for 22 years, and while he was inconsolable all of that time, only until he was reunited with his son, Yosef. We need to try and bring this to an end through prayer and through activity, that Bezrat Hashem, every one of those who need to be buried and need to come home to their families alive will come home. This week's Parasha Vayeishev is not only the parasha of identifying with the terrible pain and inconsolable mourning of Jacob, but also the parasha where Yosef famously says, when looking for his brothers, when he gets lost along the way and finds this mysterious man, and the man says, what are you looking for? Who are you looking for? And he says, Et achai ani mvakesh, I'm looking for my brothers. This is the parasha of Yosef, looking for our brothers, his brothers. We are looking for our brothers and sisters, trying to bring every single one of them back, standing together at this time. And my friend, Tzvi Sussman, whose son Ben was killed as a volunteer on the first day, went straight into the fighting and was killed. The late Ben Sussman initiated with others this Shabbat that we should particularly pray for the hostages. Now that we know that their fate is being decided, we should daven for them, say a special prayer for the hostages. And if we say it every week, to say it with extra kavanah, that it's the time of Et achai nuchim vakesh, that we are looking out for the good of our families and our children, that all of them should come home. And indeed, that the pain that Yaakov felt, the inconsolable pain, that nobody should be able to feel it. It was only relieved, and he only got peace once he was reunited with Yosef. And please God, all the families should be reunited with their families, and those to be buried should be buried, to enable those to mourn and others to get on with life. Because Bezrat Hashem, that is what it's about. Affirming life, and please God, being able together to relieve suffering together and bring every single one of our children home. Shabbat Shalom.